Folks, welcome to another edition in Real Estate Experts. As always, I'm your host Glen Twiddle, bringing you leading real estate agents, negotiators, authors, property experts designed to help you, the home seller, really traverse the minefield of uncertainty when it comes to choosing an agent, maximising top dollar on your investment. And today, I'm here with best-selling authors and truly some of the most skilled negotiators I've ever come across in this series, and that's Team Townley, Ilse and Ian. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
So, question one that I've really got for you is, not everyone's got such an easy choice. I know that people who live in your area have got an easy choice, right? They just call you. But how would a home seller who doesn't have such an obvious choice in their area, what sort of criteria should we use to be picking the Townley team of, say, imagine there's a seller up in Cairns. How do we find the Ilse Townley, the Ian Townley of Cairns? What sort of criteria should we be on the lookout for?
Well, Glenn, the first thing I would suggest is that if you are looking to engage an agent in selling your property, make a short list and go to the open homes. Right. Really look at how the agent presents the home, how they interact with you as a buyer, secret buyer.
Yeah, okay.
And most importantly, how they actually follow up afterwards.
Okay.
If there is any follow-up, which I find is sometimes not happening.
Wow. Ian, with regards to what Ilse just said about presentation, what specifically, if I go and do what Ilse is saying, which is a great piece of advice for our viewer, we have a look at an agent, we sort of pretend to be a secret shopper. Tell me about what sort of things we should be looking for with regards to the presentation of a home from an agent that truly can maximise top dollar for a home seller.
Well, I think firstly, Glenn, is don't keep it a secret. If you don't have an A board out the front or a flag, people can quite easily drive past the property and not even know there is an open home line. The next thing that I think is really important is that there is a very warm welcome at the front door. People feel like they're coming home to view the property. Obviously, we like to take names and numbers of people coming through, more for our follow-up afterwards. Then the most important thing is that they are not just left alone in the home, that there is interaction with them. We obviously give them a very high-quality brochure so that they have all the lists of facilities in the home, the benefits of the home, but we like to interact with them as well in what they do like about the home, or if they've got a negative, we like to hear that as well.
Yeah. Ilse, Ian mentioned we. Is that saying that you guys always do it with having a team of people there, at least two? Because most agents, there's only one guy there handing out a brochure saying, have a look. It's always the two of you?
There's always two of us, and I think that works really well because one for security for the seller and the other one for interaction. And, you know, some people will react better to a female and others really react better to Ian. So we cover all the bases there. So if there's a nice shed out there, then obviously Ian's going to interact with the blokes a bit more. And I will be doing the kitchen, kind of bathroom, what the women like. Yeah. But always two, minimum two.
Yeah. Wow, yes. Okay, cool. And Ilse, you mentioned before follow-up. Tell me, is it sort of, you know, hopefully not too stalkerish that there's two of you there at the open home? You guys are doing it in a really friendly way, and that's, again, for our viewer, they should be looking. Tell me what they should be looking for. You know, are you hanging off each buyer? Tell me about how that kind of should feel to the home buyer.
We don't actually follow them around and crowd their space. We let them walk freely through the home and really absorb all the good features. So Ian is normally in the kitchen area, which is usually the centre of the home, and we give these beautiful A3 professionally printed brochures as well, with all the attributes on there. So, you know, there could be a talking point there in the kitchen.
And so Ian, and again, you mentioned follow-up before. So again, we're not stalkers in the home. We're very nicely leaving people with their space, but still being with them to be there for answering any questions. Exactly. Tell me about the follow-up moving forward from that. What should we expect after we leave? Because I understand that you guys have found some really unique and different ways that some agents don't follow up at all, or some agents, you know, feel like they're just stalking you. Where's the happy medium that you guys would recommend that we should be looking for? Yeah,
it is a delicate balance, I agree. Following the open home in the afternoon, we will always SMS the clients and thank them for coming.
Right.
We like to usually, if we have a large crowd in an open home, we like to give out intent to purchase forms, an offer form. So we will again remind them in that SMS in the afternoon, did you get a copy of the offer form? And if not, can we send you one? So please SMS your email address to us. Following that, on Sunday morning, we will send an electronic version of the brochure through to them again, reminding them about the features of the property, and again asking if they didn't get an offer form, can we send one through to you? And then by Monday, we will physically be on the phone contacting them and talking to them. Now that assumes, Glenn, that we haven't had an offer on the property before that.
Yeah. And Ilse, I met a couple of your sellers over the last period of time. And you got to tell me about the stories that these guys are telling me. You know, what Ian is saying about, you know, assuming we haven't got a property. Tell us about a couple of those case studies where literally 10 times the amount of people that would normally come to another agent's open home are coming to yours. Tell us how that's possible and give us a snapshot of what that's looking like on open day.
Open day can be quite crazy. It doesn't really matter what sort of price range you're talking. It is how good your marketing is. Your strategy is everything. So when we have a lot of people coming to the open home, it's not that they stand and wait in queues, but unfortunately it has happened.
You've had
a
hundreds
few
of
times.
people. Hundreds of people at your open.
Absolutely.
Wow.
We've even had people suggest that we get traffic police involved because we are causing such a disturbance.
The Townley team opens causes traffic jams.
It does.
Wow.
It causes, especially if you're looking at places like Algester, Sunnybank Hills, even in Parkinson. So we did take that on board, but at this stage, well, it does create a lot of offers, and part of that strategy is how we get the people there. And that is direct mail. There's a whole list of different things that we do, but we do also invite, say, 100 homes around the property, and the buyers that are there don't necessarily know that that is the neighbour, but it builds the crowd, and a crowd builds the environment of competition, and that's how we do it. We get multiple offers on every home.
Wow. I love it. And that's why we get experts like yourself in on this show, is so that the home sellers out there can truly know, because you guys aren't the norm, are you? Not all agents are creating this sort of craziness and excitement wrapped around their sellers and their clients' properties, are they?
No, I think ours is a little bit unusual compared to what's happening out in the market.
Yeah.
It's just marketing strategy, that's all it is.
Cool.
So we've been to other open homes before, and they're very strict on their time, so they do one after another, so it's very, I suppose, choreographed, if one for a better word. You go in, you've got literally your half an hour, 45 minutes and out, and they move on. And I know specifically with my grandmother's house, because there was such a large number of people through the home, I know she took that extra effort to ensure that she accommodated all those people. She gave it her absolute best shot at achieving the best results.
Ian, is there anything else that you'd say would be a benchmark or a guide so that we know, other than, so we've secret shopped, we've had a look at what the agents are doing and what they're not doing, so we've got a bit of a feel as to who the guns are, but if that's not enough, is there anywhere else we can go to kind of figure out who is walking their talk versus who's talking it?
Yes, there's independent sites out there that a potential seller can go to, and they can look at how that agent ranks.
Like a website.
Like a website.
Yeah, okay.
Rate My Agent is a very popular one.
Rate My Agent. That's ratemyagent.com.au.
Yes. Okay. It will show the performance of the agent, their standing in the community. More importantly, it has a lot of testimonials from people who have bought and or sold through them.
Right.
So it's not, as an agent would say to you, I'm great, it's what other people say about you.
Well, it's almost like that's becoming there's a lot of those sites. There's those sites for restaurants and Google reviews. It's like a real estate agent version of those, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, okay.
And the agents cannot upload anything themselves.
Nice. So
very, very cleverly done. So the information on there is very correct.
Wow,
yeah.
Great. Okay, excellent. Well, that's a great tip.
It is. Yeah.
Worth the price of admission alone, that one. Very good. So, Els, my next question is really for yourself, is because you mentioned this in your amazing book called Move, which is really on the subject of maximising top dollar, like this interview.
Exactly. Great
work, and I'm going to get cheeky and hit you up for a copy of that for our viewers a bit later. So stay tuned. I might get you a free book just yet. But Els, tell me about that. You mentioned in that book that one of the things is like such a common mistake that you devote a substantial amount of time in your book to show me. I believe you call it buying the listing. Tell me about that and why it's such a problem for a home seller.
In my point of view, buying a listing would be when an agent goes in, say you're interviewing as a seller, you're interviewing 2 or 3 or 4 agents, and one of them are quite a lot higher than the others. It means that they are trying to give you false hope that you're going to get a lot more dollars than what you might be getting in the marketplace, and then list with that agent because he made you that promise. But the inherent problem there is that once you go to market, you might miss the 2-week window of opportunity where all the buyers have been looking for 6 months or 8 months. They're all ready to go, but you are outpriced in the market. So you're going to miss that window. So after 2 weeks, they come and they try and beat you down on price. But you've lost that momentum in getting top dollar. It's really important that you do your own research and look at comparable properties to yours before you actually decide on a listing price, and not some empty promise and agents maybe, well, I'll get you 30,000 more than anybody else.
But Ilse, my question of you would be, because I met a couple of your sellers just now, and they were saying that you got them $70,000 more, or one of your sellers said that you got them $100,000 more than the nearest agent ever hoped you could dream to get. So what if someone is like yourself and is actually telling the truth that you can get $100,000 more, because those people were telling me exactly that? How do you differentiate between someone who can do it and someone who's just buying the listing as you describe?
It comes down to not just your track record, but also strategy that you are going to engage in when selling the property. So if you want me to elaborate on that, then it is the way we sell properties, we negotiate upwards and not downwards. We don't tell people that price is negotiable. It's how much more do you want to pay? And then it comes down to simple and very effective negotiations. We're very lucky to get multiple offers on most of our properties.
I don't know if I'd call it luck, Ilse, hey?
Yeah, well, it is prompting the buyers too, you know, with our follow-up all the time. And when we do deal with the multiple offers, is still keep the respect for the buyer, but never forgetting you work for the seller. And I will go until there's no more dollar, until the buyer there's nothing, and then I say, okay, put that in writing, because you might miss out. Then they'll give me a little bit more, you know.
Wow, and I tell you, I met some of your sellers who told me those exact stories.
Really?
I love it. So good, and testament to your skills.
Thank you.
We actually did have other agents just come and have a quick look and see what they felt about the property, and what they told us was the house was only worth about $680. You know, you would never go more than 700, that's ridiculous, and things like that. And to us, we felt a little negative towards those agents because we're not getting the support we would expect from someone that's representing us in selling the house, and also we weren't getting any specific pointers on how could we actually improve our property to make it a better sell. So what it was in the end for us was basically guide us in the right direction, try to fulfill what we were asking, and through renovation, not very costly either. They gave us really good pointers on how we should go about it. We came under budget because the renovation, originally we budgeted for about $25,000 to do the renovation. Ended up only costing us $16,000. But in the $16,000, had we gone with the $680,000 price range, you know, that $16,000 spent was well worth it, because now my parents have retired and the extra money, and you know, this is $100,000 more than what the other agents were suggesting. It has totally transformed my parents' life. They're living a very comfortable retirement life, and you know, it's very, very happy to see my parents being so relieved and being able to go and see the world and still be in touch with Ilse and Ian. They still to this day say, oh, how's Ilse and Ian doing? And you know, they were so good to us.
So Ian, what other traps are there like that one that sellers kind of need to be wary of?
Yeah, empty promises is one we come across a lot, as in, sign with me now. I've got buyers literally sitting in the car waiting to sign a contract. Well, Glen, we've all got buyers. The bottom line is that a buyer finds the home. They don't find the agent. It's as simple as that.
So, and are you finding agent, is that a promise, I suppose, that's winning over sellers? Are sellers kind of believing that, and is that costing them any money to believe the agent that sort of makes that empty promise that may not be the best buyer?
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely, it can cost them thousands if they Let's, for example, say that the agent brings the buyer in and they sign a contract within a space of 1 or 2 days. It may not be the price they would have got had they have gone to market with a solid marketing campaign behind that, had open homes and invited more buyers in who obviously create that spirit of competition and drive the price. So you're not doing yourself a service.
Yeah. And though, Ilse, I mean, based on that, you've certainly, I've heard of some of your sales where they sell at the first open home, but you always make sure the whole market's there at that time. Yeah?
Absolutely. Yes. It's a whole build-up for that first open home. It's contacting the database, the neighbours, doing your marketing. Everything's got to be exactly in place 5 days before you actually open the home to the public and to the buyers. It's crucial and it works fantastic.
So Ilse, is there anything that you'd say, you know, these sellers, we only do this once every 5 years. You guys do it day in, day out.
Absolutely.
What other traps are there for young players that we need to be aware of?
Well, the only one I can think of is sometimes if an agent tells you, look, we've got 55 agents that's going to help sell the property, you know, you might hear those kind of questions, but they really need to stack it up. That's when you need to actually go to the open homes and see how many buyers there are.
Right.
And see if they've got 55 agents, shouldn't they at least have one buyer per?
Yeah, so like you guys, there should be hundreds of agents, hundreds of buyers there, like
exactly
you're
right.
famous for.
Exactly right. So yeah, just have a think about that one when you do interview agents as well.
Right. So just a promise of a number of agents is not a criteria. We want to see what that results in.
Yeah, I was going to say the reality is that most agents work on their own listings. So if they go in and they engage into an agreement with the seller, they will work 100% on that property. If you've got another 40 or 50 people in the office who are not part of that agreement with the seller, the chances are they're going to be working on their own listings. They're not going to be too worried about this listing.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's kind of maybe a way to get you to sign up on a listing, but it may not generate in that crazy buyer frenzy that you guys are famous for creating.
But at the same time, we also have our CRM system, which is our client-based system that we have. And after each Saturday open homes, our whole group put our buyers in there. And then you can go buyer match and print a report. So we do have buyers for each other's properties as well. So it's not just me and Ian working on one specific. We do share our buyers around, and as you know, we've got 55 salespeople for franchises, so we have a lot of buyers. But what I'm trying to say is that most agents will work on the property they've listed.
I think the big takeaway for our viewer is make sure that whatever the promises are made, make sure it results in action at the end of the day. So I love your advice about really secret shopping our agents to see if they're walking their talk rather than just talking it.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So, well, that leads to, I suppose, the next question, which is with regards to marketing. You guys are renowned. You guys have students where you're teaching how to do this. You're teaching other agents to market properties in the way that you guys do that results in these flurries of buyers. So tell us a little bit about the importance of marketing and what sort of marketing we should be on the lookout for that would identify a real superstar agent that can get top dollar for our property, that can get these multiple offers that you're talking about. What's good marketing and what's not?
Well, I guess it's where people nowadays look to buy properties. Number one, Glenn, the internet has become the vehicle. Anybody that's looking for a home is going to the internet. So we make sure that we've got a constant and a high quality presence on the internet of a property where people can go and look at the features of the property, they can look at interactive floor plans of the property. Quite often we will do a video on the property where they can get not just an idea of the features of the property but also the environment, the local area, facilities, etc. The internet is critical to marketing the property. 87% of inquiries in our office in this last 6 months have come from internet.
So Ilse, Ian just mentioned video. Tell us about how video has impacted buyers and the way, are they more ready to make offers because they've seen, I suppose, a really good snapshot of the video online? Tell me how video has changed the face of real estate.
Absolutely. Video has become quite popular. Ian and myself, we love to do the videos. And when we say videos, we are not talking about a slideshow of photos with some voice-over or music over. We act in it, so we're making a mini commercial. The ones that actually work the best for us is the ones where we involve the sellers, where they can talk, say something heartfelt. Well, I've loved living here because the park's down there, my kids grew up there. Video for me is selling or triggering the emotion in the buyer, because you're selling a lifestyle to them and a dream. Photos on the internet are great, but they're not emotional. People might fall in love with it, but then if you see the video after that, you've made up your mind. I remember 2 properties we've sold where the buyer came in and said, I love the video and we're buying the house because of the park. So
Nice.
it's the lifestyle that I think is really important, showing that, you know.
Cool.
Yeah, just adding to that, Glenn, too, when we started taking quality pictures, well, it's the old adage, you know, a picture paints 1,000 words, but video has taken that a quantum leap. We're now talking about hundreds of thousands of words because we are capturing the emotion in that video.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool, excellent. Well, no surprise why you've got so many. You know, I love the stories of you having traffic jams at the front of your open houses. That's so cool.
Yeah. Wish I had a camera that day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, Ilse, what are some of the key weapons you've got in your marketing arsenal with, I suppose, the method of selling? There's a lot of uncertainty out there that the viewers have asked me. Agents are coming in and wanting us to auction and they'll only auction. Some agents are saying auction's horrible. You know, what's your take? What's your weaponry with regards to getting those incredible prices that you're notorious for getting?
Well, that's a really good question. With auctions, it is great because it does have, it's a cash unconditional offer on the day with a good 10% deposit with no cooling off period. But there's also some concern on doing auctions, and believe me, I've done many successful auctions. I just feel in this market I get better results and higher dollars over the reserve that we set, because some of the buyers who are not qualified to bid at auction will not be there.
So they'll just skip the property.
They'll skip it altogether.
Wow.
So they might not have the 10% ready on the day, but they might have 5%, and therefore some of their money is tied up in stock or fixed deposits, and they will just skip the auction. So I've found that when I've got like $50,000, $60,000 over asking price, and I've had say 12, 13 offers, that some of the highest offers, people had 3 or 5% deposit and never have any of those contracts crashed on me. What you've got to really vet your buyer so that you know that whichever one you choose at the end of the day is going to stack up on their finance as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, yeah. So, Ian, Ilse sounds like she's a bit of an assassin with this negotiator, a bit of a smiling assassin.
Yes.
Would that be a fair comment? And what have you observed from Ilse and even yourself with regards to negotiating through this unique system you guys have got, where you do it privately, but you still get results even above the asking price? Tell us a little bit about the process.
Well, the process of offers over, it's definitely worked for us in the last year. All of our homes that we sold, with the exception of one, were sold over the asking price.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, no, I can't think of another agent that could make that claim. So we've definitely got the right experts here on Real Estate Experts. And but does Ilse use her, I suppose, the fact that she's so nice as one of the weapons in her negotiating arsenal?
Definitely. Definitely. She keeps me in touch. Yes. No, she is a fine negotiator. I've watched her from afar sometimes negotiating with buyers, and usually not just one buyer but multiple buyers. She'll get the last cent out of their pocket. There is no question of that, Glenn.
Wow. So we want Ilse to be on our side, or you guys as a team to be on our side to sell. Actually, tell me, I met a few of your buyers and they had a very, a rare insight into how you act as a buyer versus a seller. Tell us about how you treat your buyers versus your sellers, because you have buyers still loving you even though they're paying top dollar.
Absolutely. I think it's very important to understand your buyer demographics. At the moment, there's a lot of Asian buyers coming into our areas.
One of the buyers I met from you was a young Asian man, yeah?
Correct. And not only understand the culture, but you've got to have respect for the buyer. I know that we're working for the seller, and my mind is never off that I'll be as nice as pie to get the last dollar out of a buyer's pocket for the seller. But there's a certain amount of respect to the buyer and the seller. So I will never put the one against the other. For instance, saying the buyer won't come up. I'll say, I believe the buyer is offering a fair price now, but I'm going to go back once more. And often the seller will say, no, we're happy with that. You know, we'll sign. I'll say, may I have one more chance? I just want to go back once more until that buyer says that's enough. I find normally it's about 6 times. By the 6th time, the buyer's like, that's enough, there's no more. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah, wow. And so that leads me to, I suppose, the next question, and it's with regards to marketing and with regards to an agent's fee. See, there's some agents that'll charge next to no money. They'll be working basically for free and they'll pay for the marketing. Versus there are some agents that are, it sounds like you're paying them a year's wages plus another $20,000 on marketing, and everywhere in between. Now, I know you guys aren't you know, the most expensive in the game, nor are you giving it away. You guys are charging a fair and reasonable fee. But how does a seller out there know whether they're paying too much, too little, or the case may be? Give us your take on, I suppose, the costs involved with transacting on a property. What would you say to that?
Yes, that's an interesting one. As you know, Glenn, commission was deregulated in Queensland as of last December. So as to what is now the industry norm for commission is very hard to say. We've heard, obviously, stories about what our competitors are charging versus what we charge. We really haven't deviated at all from what was in place before the deregulation. Our marketing costs, we're very transparent when we talk to our sellers. We give them a complete breakdown of what those costs are. In a lot of the cases, we will help the seller by carrying that cost for them for part of the term of sale. Yep. But then again, our property sells so quickly, it's never really been an issue.
Excellent. And so, Ilse, I've heard, you know, even Ian just mentioned there's sometimes some cost involved, but speaking with your sellers, they are sitting there saying it was the best investment they've ever made. You know, I suppose give us your take on that. When an investment in some marketing, what someone should be expecting as a return on that investment.
Well, again, I think with investing into the marketing of your own property, that you should see it as this investment as part of my profit, not part of my cost. Because that investment will get you the over asking price that we seem to get all the time.
Every listing.
So my goal is always, when I say to the sellers, look, I know the marketing is going to be X amount, let's throw a figure out there for today's purpose. The marketing is going to be $1,400, $1,500, and I really want the buyer to pay for that, not the seller. So when it comes to final negotiation, I've got that in my mind, like they've paid $2,000 for this marketing.
That's why you go back and get that extra $2,000. That's why I go back
and I'll say, look, I got your marketing back plus extra.
Wow.
So that is my goal when I negotiate. I always try and get that money or that investment back, so it becomes part of profit and not cost.
Okay.
And the other thing is too, if you think about us selling over asking price, all our properties bar one in the last year, I know we've done 70 and 50, but let's say our average is $15,000 over asking. Our commission is almost the same.
Yeah.
In our farm.
Yep.
So are we really the most expensive, or are we the cheapest?
Free. Yeah, you're free.
You're free,
yeah, absolutely. Your sellers would say that you're paying for yourself. So really, Ilse, you know, I know there's lots of ways to skin the cat, but you really are suggesting that this unique method that you guys have got saying is probably the way to go, at least in your area. So is there anything you'd add, I suppose, to that discussion?
Oh, absolutely. In our area is working really well. For instance, if you go to auction, which is a great method of sale, but what if it doesn't sell under the hammer on the day? And at the moment it's about a 3% selling under the hammer.
3%?
Yes, so it's not very high. Auctions, it can sell before or after, but then it becomes a private treaty with a price that we are doing anyway without the price tag. My concern is if your property does not sell on the day of auction under the hammer, So my concern is the buyers are only going to remember what the property got passed in at. And that's always going to be lower than what the reserve was, otherwise it would have sold, correct? So to close that gap from the buyer is a lot more hard work, because you've got to say to him, well, you need to come up to where the seller is. And he was like, well, nobody else wanted to pay that much. So it's a little bit of a risk there. In a market that's quite buoyant, in a seller's market like today, I think private treaty with a price, and our reserve is transparent, so it's offers over, how far can we go up, is a better method, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I love that you guys are working to get those buyers up, rather than I've seen a lot of other agents working to get sellers down to meet whatever that happens to be.
To meet the market, exactly.
Yeah, cool. So say I've come and seen you at an open house, or I've come and seen all my agents at an open house, and so I've followed your instruction there, and now I've shortlisted it to say 2 or 3 agents that I'm going to call in and actually interview. What should I be on the lookout for at an appraisal that kind of differentiates the Team Townley from, you know, a normal run-of-the-mill agent? You know, Ian, what would you say?
Well, I think number one is you've got to know your buyer. You've got to know the buyer demographic for your area. No point in just throwing a dart at the wall and saying, well, I think our buyer will come from there and I think this is what they want. We study our buyers. We know the breakdown of our area and we study what our buyers want. If we think there are mismatches in that house, then we know it's going to be more difficult to get that type of buyer into the house.
So you're talking about staging and renovating, that sort of advice?
Yes, yes, correct. As far as the walkthrough is concerned in the home, Ilse and I always go through with an eye to small things, cosmetic things that could be improved, because it's the sort of thing that a buyer's going to pick up as they walk through. We've, through experience now, learned to pick out those things. It might be cracks in the wall, it might be perhaps it's too cluttered, it might be that the colour of a particular wall is wrong. We will make suggestions, we won't demand, but we will make suggestions of sellers that they address these issues, because it's going to be more attractive to the buyer and getting the best possible price for them at the end of the day.
Yeah, I met one of your sellers recently saying that a small investment of say $15,000, I believe he said, resulted in $100,000 more than the other agents said it would ever get in a million years. So wonderful. Yeah.
She has that special magic that just creates that interest, so she really can draw attention. She gets the people in and she, I suppose, makes them feel really comfortable with the home, plays on the most important aspects of the home and really gets the people wanting to purchase. So the same thing again, so she is true to her word that all offers go to the owner on a Monday night. So all the open home was Saturday, all the offers came in. Monday afternoon she rings me and says, I have 29 offers on your grandmother's house. And I'm like, what? She's like, yes. So I think Tuesday she came around with the offers and we went through them all and it was just unbelievable. So yeah, she managed to get us $73,000 above our asking price, which was just literally, you get the phone call and I said, I need to sit down.
Els, what other advice should we be on the lookout for at an appraisal or at a listing presentation when you first meet those shortlisted agents that we're talking to?
Well, if you get an agent going through your home and you really want to showcase your home and the attributes of your home, so we are not the kind of agents who'll stick our head in, oh yeah, that's a bedroom. I actually go in and I ask permission to see if there's shelving in the cupboards, because that's what I look from a buyer's point of view when I do an appraisal, and I'll make those little notes, like Ian was saying before. Often in the bathroom you might need a little bit of silicone around, and that's $10 at Bunnings and it just freshens the whole shower up. So those little things we'll make note of. So our walkthrough is not 3 minutes. We spend time and we write down things, and at the time we might speak to the seller, and often they'll ask the question, well, is there anything that we need to change? Well, I've got the list. Can we go through them?
But you're not overcapitalising, are you? You're making sure that the money is spent. $10 might result in $10,000, but you don't want $20,000 to result in nothing.
And the thing is, if they're not in a position, and you do get that, people are not in a position to spend any money or don't want to spend any money for whatever personal reasons, that's fine too. Just as long as we make them aware that this is possibly going to be an issue with a buyer or with a building and pest inspection. And if we can eliminate as many of those as we can, there will be no renegotiation after we've entered into a contract. We want to keep that high price that we've got for them.
Nice. Awesome, Mills. Thanks. I mean, Ian, anything to add to that?
Well, I just think one last thing in terms of doing an appraisal, Glenn, is that you need to give they've invited you in because they want to know what they think they can get for their house on the market and what they think we can sell it for. So it's really important that you give them a price guide or a price indication before you leave, rather than we'll get back to you or we're not quite sure. That to me, any agent that says that to you doesn't know it.
We're talking amateur hour, are we?
Yes, yes.
Excellent. Well, guys, it would be remiss of me not to do this, so I'm going to ask. Ilse, your amazing book, Move, Getting Property Sold for Top Dollar. Wonderful stuff. It really goes into some more detail on many of the strategy we've talked here today. Could I hit you up for a copy for our viewers?
Okay, of course you can. I'd love to. Yeah.
Well, I'll just get a URL popped up on the screen, the website for them to go and grab a copy, because I know you're selling it on Amazon. It's doing great. So, guys, if you want to go buy it, please feel free. But if you do want to go to that website right there, Ilse will get you a copy of it. And thank you so much, because I know it'll really help a whole lot of other people. The same way you guys help your clients, well, all around the country, they can get the benefit of that as well. So, guys, that's another episode of Real Estate Experts in the Can. Wow, how good was that as far as your ability to get top dollar for your property? So I really trust you avail yourself of those resources the guys have offered. Heed their advice, secret shop those agents you're choosing. And until I see you next time, guys, Glen Twiddle signing off for Ilse Townley and Ian Townley. Bye for now.